Mr. President, we're no further along today than we were last Thursday when the governor announced that there was a deal on this budget. We're still in limbo on all the major policy issues. We have no information from the majority where these stand, which of those may have been nailed down and agreed to, which ones are open and outstanding, and what the issue is that is open and outstanding on those major policy issues that New Yorkers deserve to know where the majorities of this legislature and the governor are going to take the state of New York in regards to these very significant policy issues that are holding this budget up. It's very concerning to me that there is no commitment to hold the budget conference committees to ultimately determine how the table targets will be distributed. My guess is and hunch is that they probably won't be held, as they haven't been held in prior years under this majority and under this governor, that we will get the budget bills in the dead of night, and we'll be asked to vote on them that same night, as has been done far too often in this legislature. You know, we are now 6 weeks late on this budget. We are now 8 days away from every school district in this state voting on its budget, not knowing what amount of money is going to be designated in this budget for the voters to vote on. Those budgets are already in print. They've already been decided based on a number that they've guessed at this point. If we had a budget done before the budget votes of those schools next Tuesday, at least the voters might have a chance to find out whether those school districts have allocated too much or not enough state aid in those figures. And if they've calculated too little state aid, that means the property tax levies in these school districts are going to be raised further than they would need to be raised if that aid was coming from the state. And voters would have a decision to make and say, well, no, this budget's too much. It's not needed. It's over and above what the state aid number was factored in to formulating that budget. And voters could say, no, we're not going to support that budget because we want it to be revised to include the accurate state aid figure. There's discussions of this $1 billion to be returned to ratepayers in some form or fashion. I'd like some explanation to the ratepayers of this state why it's only $1 billion being discussed. Why isn't the full $3 billion that NYSERDA and the utility companies of this state are holding in escrow for further green projects to go forward? Throwing money down the drain more and more and not returning it to the ratepayers who are in desperate need. Only a third of what's being held is being considered to be returned to these ratepayers. And that amount is basically built into NYSERDA's financial plan for the next several years out to have that excess in its coffers rather than in the pockets of the ratepayers of New York State. I just want to know, really, what the governor and the majorities of this legislature are really doing about the affordability crisis we have in New York State, and that we hear day in and day out about the affordability struggles in this state. Yet the state budget continues to rise. Now it's an estimated $268 billion. Around that is going to be approved. $15 billion more than last year. As I've said many times, the spending in this state is out of control. It's unsustainable, and it's only exacerbating the affordability issues that we have in this state. And it's only going to further exacerbate those issues as we continue to have policies in this state that drive businesses out, that drive people out. We'll have larger taxpayers, so the amount of the spending is going to be spread about even more against lower income households, which is not fair, it's not just, and we're making the wrong policy decisions to move this state forward so we can have some affordability, some semblance of affordability, so that New Yorkers can afford to stay here and raise their families, so that businesses will want to stay here and invest and provide the jobs that New Yorkers need to sustain themselves and their families. You know, we've now, in this budget extender, have allocated $23.1 billion towards this year's budget. Now, that's only 8.6% of what the overall prospective budget would be at $268 billion. But an alarming fact is that amount of $23 billion is in excess of the entire budgets of 22 states in this country, just to show you how out of whack our spending is in this state. 11 to 12 times more what 22 states are in this state. Yeah, they're smaller states, I get it. But our spending per capita in these state budgets is out of control, and there's nothing that's been shown to be being done or even considered by the governor or the majorities of the legislature in going after that issue, going after these uncontrolled budgets, going after the impact they're having on businesses and households in this state with no relief in sight. Thank you, Mr. President.